pretty much what we're going to be doing right now is lore time, which, of course, like in the description, I'm going to be going over various topics within things like Warhammer and Halo, etc. Though I'm not exactly the smartest person in it, I can be decently knowledgeable in it, but that's up to you guys to decide. So, the first thing that I am wanting to go over is Warhammer, which of course I'm going to have to probably wait till I have to pause the stream. Uh, um, okay, kind of use on topic here. I'll have to take a quick moment. Okay, you have to give me a quick moment because I need to get some people on Discord up. Oh, sorry about that. I'm just gonna Okay, well, pretty much to start off with Warhammer, I guess, a little bit of context. First off, it is my favorite franchise out of everything, probably, because there's definitely going to be more stuff. But it is in a grim, dark future around, depending on which area you're wanting to go in, either M30 or M40, which M stands for Millennium, because Millennium means 1,000 years in general. And pretty much either you are going to be in the near noble right future of M30 or the grimdark future of M41. So, I'm just gonna, because, oh yeah, and this is one of the things for M30, which is that we have here likely Tarek Toriadan. I, yeah, that's definitely Horus Axman, which is pretty much Little Horus as he's named. This, I believe, is Gargiel Loken Ezekiel Abaddon, which anyone who knows Warhammer somewhat, you probably know who Abaddon the Despoiler is. This is before he actually became Abaddon the Despoiler. This, I believe, is Tybal Mar. I don't know. It's weird. I can't remember who that guy is though. Okay, this why is not working? What? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, forgot. Okay, so pretty much we're going to have here. Let me just get this set up again. Don't know why it's doing that. So first off, we're going to have let's get the images here. So pretty much in the Warhammer 30K era, it is a lot better. As in, if we go here, sorry for constantly doing the tab thing. We're gonna do. Let me think. Oh, so a little bit of context once again. The Space Marines had not. They had legions before the actual disbanding of the legions and turning them into chapters, which is about 1,000 in the grimdark setting. They were called legions, which normally consisted of almost 100,000, but judging by because sometimes they can be they can sometimes be either from 100 around like 20,000, 30,000 sometimes. Like, see here, sure it's AI, but it takes things from almost everywhere, which these things are accurate. I've looked it up on multiple different things. But normally it consists of around 100,000 Marines. And looking here, on the largest side, or larger, because the Ultramarines and the Imperial Fist had a lot more Marines, because the Ultramarines had 250 Marines because of a little bit of speculation going on here, because it's very likely that this actually happened, but also not, because after the destruction of the 2nd and 11th Legions, it is extremely likely that whatever remnants remained traveled to the Ultramarines and Imperial Fist successors, but the Legion itself, and became Astartes there. So, yeah, there's that. but taking into consideration the Sons of Malice, that also might be an option. But here we have the Ultramarines being 250 starters at peak. We have the Imperial Fist being 100,000 plus, with things like the Salamanders and Raven Guard, White Scars, Death Guard. They were all on the lower side and all that. The Salamanders were known to be the smallest legion because of how self-sacrificial they were. They were extremely. Oh, yeah, and then we also have the Emperor's Children, which at their lowest, they went down to 300 Marines. They were down to 3 companies worth at their lowest because there was a mutation that happened with the Emperor's Children, and it caused them to have a type of cancer, per se. And it ended up in them losing a whole bunch of their Marines. So they had to link up with the Luna Wolves, as they were called before, during the Great Crusade. They had served alongside them for a decent chunk of the time before their legion actually fully returned. Thousand Sons also had another disease, which was called the Flesh Change, but Magnus managed to stop that for a little while until the heresy started up, and then Zinj decided to pull that away after Magnus sacrificed his eye, which is why he's called the Cyclopean of what was it again? Prospero. Cyclopean of Prospero. He's also called Magnus Red because, looking up here, we have this guy was always red. Like, looking at this, he is red. That's why it's called Magnus the Red. But yeah, as well as the Iron Hands, which I'm a little confused on why that's the case, because I don't really see the reason why that happened. But the Ultramarines and Imperial Fist also had an extremely stable gene seed, which a gene seed is pretty much the genetic coding of an Astartes legion. The first founding, as it was called later in M41, all have descending Primarchs, which the Primarchs, as most would know, are the genetic fathers. Well, not genetic, but technically, it's a little confusing. But they are the fathers of the Astartes. All of these guys come from all of them, but there's also the off chance that some are made from heretic gene seed, which, for all those who know who the Sons of the Phoenix are, I don't think it's confirmed if these guys are part of are Emperor's Children gene seed, because, they'd probably just get exterminatus from orbit the moment that happens, or get put on a French Crusade, but who knows. But, yeah. And things like the Dark Angels, they also had a pretty stable gene seed, because, as seen here, the Iron Warriors would have been larger as well if not for Ferraro ordering a 10th of Legion being murdered. Sons of Horus, or Luna Wolves, as they're formally called, are also decently stable. On that note, we also have the Space Wolves being a lot smaller in comparison, being around in 12th place for Legion size, as they had an extremely volatile gene seed, and it caused them to either they become the Woven, which are pretty much what happens to an Astartes in the Space Wolf Legion who do not make it through training and their body rejects the gene seed. They ended up looking like wolves, and these guys are, yeah. There are. I won't just shut up. I remember. Mine won't shut up. I don't know why, but pretty much they look like wolves. The whole thing with the space wolves is wolves being their shtick. They are really into wolves, which honestly, if you lived in a tundra that looked extremely like Vikings, I would be interested in wolves too. But yeah, there's that. Raven Guard were also a lot smaller because I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. Alpha Legion was known to be one of the largest legions due to the fact that now it's really conflicting because their gene seed is also extremely stable, but with the fact that they are extremely, and I mean extremely secretive with everything, even more so than the Dark Angels. And those guys are secretive. But the Alpha Legion is pretty much secrets on top of secrets. They don't want anyone to figure out who Alpharius is. And they actually have a little funny thing, and it's become a meme nowadays, where it is, I am Alpharius. So there's that. Uh, the Emperor's Children, as we can see here, had at their peak 110,000 Marines. Iron Hands also about 3,000 more. Now, going into why okay, that's actually really oh that why do I look like that meme of a guy in like this thing right here? This you get this? Like my screen is so I might have to turn that down actually real quick, but you get yeah. Let me just go stop sharing real quick, but yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing with the actual size of the legions before the heresy. Where eh, honestly, it doesn't really matter. I just move back. Now, another thing is that the operations that they normally went on were called crusades, which normally they went in intervals of a couple of years in 30K. Now they go on for centuries because things like the Indominus Crusade. The Indominus Crusade in itself lasted for 12 standard years. Actually, I'm a little confused on that. Why? There's conflicting events with this stuff. This is weird. But yeah, there are some things that went on for a while. The Horus Heresy actually went on for about 9 years because the Traitor Legions were trying to make a mad dash for Terra because they knew that they couldn't withstand a long war. The moment that the Ultramarines came around and the Imperial Fists were both at Terra, it was going to be impossible to take on everything because even with hold on, let me get a calculator real quick. Okay, so I'll just take a quick guess and do 97,000. We'll just taking a look here, we have almost 200,000. Like, there's just a lot. And even then, the Alpha Legion in itself actually became really conflicting as well, because honestly, the whole thing with that is Omegan and Alfarius were conflicting extremely, because Alfarius was a traitor. He wanted to kill the Emperor because he believed that it would save humanity. But Omegon, he wanted to keep the Emperor alive because he knew, well, he didn't actually know, because the old ones, the last remaining ones, were trying to make sure the heresy was won, but it wasn't. Now that's the thing, because going into the Horus Heresy, first off, context for the heresy. After there was a certain type, or not type, but there was a certain planet that they took over called Gavin, which ended up with warrior lodges that moved sort of into the legions and caused a little bit of discontent, like, quote, discontent, because it was allowing people to keep secrets. Now, this actually went to a peak in M. Uh, 004 M31, the fourth year of the 31st millennium. So that had Horus getting hurt, which he would have survived anyway, because it was a plague designed by Nurgle, which actually I should probably go into context with those guys real quick. And okay, so quick change the stuff. We're gonna go over the Chaos Gods, which first off we have now. We're first gonna go over the whole thing with the actual gods themselves, because we have the 8-spoked wheel of chaos. It is 8 different pieces, all designed for the gods of chaos, because there was a little problem with trying to get all 8 chaos gods into Warhammer, because it ended up with them getting copyrighted. So yeah, but 4 managed to make it through. So they had those guys, but there are also minor deities called, well, the most notable minor chaos god is Malal, or Malice, which actually I kind of like it, because it takes off of the inspiration with Greece and minor deities. Like, we have Selene, Aeolus, Silenus, Pan. I'm not even going to try to spell that. That is weird. Nemesis, Asclepius, Eurus. Like, all those guys are minor deities of Greek mythology. But here we have also minor Chaos Gods. So here we have, okay, another thing. We also have the Emperor of Mankind, which is the quote-unquote god of the Imperium. He actually himself would have become a Chaos God were it not for the fact that he didn't actually join Chaos, because he absolutely could have been corrupted by Chaos. Okay, that is too much. I'm going to get my lights again. Why do I have to keep getting my lights? This is so annoying. But, yeah. But to go over the four main Chaos Gods, we have Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh. And I'm going to go through pretty much the whole thing with those guys. So first off, we have Khorne. He is the Blood God. The term that they have is Blood for the Blood God, Skulls for the Skull Throne, because he is the God of blood, the God of murder, the God of honor, and his whole thing is battle. He does not care when or where the blood will flow, as long as it will flow. He will let anyone die as long as he gets blood. That's why if you want to join him, and if you're going to do like tabletop stuff, or I guess not, but he does not trick you. He will be straight up front with you, and he will tell you what he wants from you and what you'll get out of it. You won't actually get much mutations too. Like, sure, you have the hooves and all that, like the goat legs and all that, making you look like a minotaur. But that's pretty much it. You will get stronger, you'll get faster, more confident. Sorry for moving so much. But you will get faster, stronger, more confident. But you will slowly lose your mind. You will slowly become so enraged that you lose yourself. Which, actually, talking about that, we have another segue into the Butcher's Nails, which the World Eaters famously used, and Angron was famously corrupted by. Because the Butcher's Nails are an ancient technique in 40k where it targets your anger and pain centers in your brain, and pretty much whenever you're not in battle, you're in constant agony in here. Okay, so in a book that I have called, I believe it was False Gods, or maybe Galaxy in Flames, it states that Angron could have had his nails removed, but chose not to for some reason. And most people say that he can't get them removed. So it's a little conflicting for me, because sometimes you could say he could have gotten them removed, and other times you could say he couldn't. But nowadays he can't because, well, yeah, either way, he is in constant rage. He is actually a Daemon Prince of Khorne. And Daemon Princes are pretty much, if a mortal individual is given enough power by that specific Chaos God, they will be given a portion of their sort of, not soul, because they're technically a concept. So let's say soul. Let's just say soul. They will become immortal. They cannot die. But we also have sort of like representatives of those guys. Like, we have Karn, Lucius, Armin, all that. And the Daemon Princes are normally the Primarchs, because they are, Lorgar did some stuff with them. And Angron was actually involuntarily turned into a Daemon Prince, which involves a ritual to do that. And pretty much that's the whole thing with Daemon Princes and the avatars of the Chaos Gods, which, yeah, I'll go through each and every one of those guys as I go on. Next, we have Nurgle. He represents stagnancy, which is pretty much constant. He represents constant. Life, death, rebirth, just. He also represents plague, pestilence, disease, all that. Because as we normally see, which I don't really know if I can show that stuff, because, yeah, pus, pustules, all that, rot and decay everywhere. And he actually loves his followers. He loves them with all his heart. That's the thing about him. He will love them unconditionally because he actually cares. He actually cares about his followers. Sleep up. Maybe not. But, yeah. He actually cares about his followers. Sorry for saying that multiple times. That's one of the good things about the gods, because the Chaos Gods are not a malevolent force. They are both benevolent and malevolent, which means that they are neither good nor bad because they represent aspects of reality. They are not, they exist because of the people in 40K, and they cannot exist without the Chaos Gods, because there are two separate ways it could have gone with them being created, because with the Chaos Gods, it could have ended up with this right here. We could have had Grandfather Nurgle, god of life, growth, and the garden, Lady Slaanesh, goddess of fertility, art, and music, Khorne, the god of the harvest and patron of soldiers, Tzeentch, god of change, magic, and the cosmos. That is what would have happened if there was an abundance of other things other than death, rebirth, and life, as well as disease. That is what would have happened to Nurgle. He would have become the patron god of life. Lady Slaanesh would have become a goddess of the arts, if not for the. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit of trash on the Eldar here, but they kind of partied a little too hard, and this ended up with her getting born. And then we have Khorne, which he would have remained being the god of honor, but he would have not been a bloodthirsty killer. He would have been more so like your honorable warrior. He would have wanted peace through combat, not combat through combat. And then we have Tzeentch, which will remain mostly the same, but less of a manipulative piece of trash, and more so been a little bit more expectable with everything, because normally in 40K he is extremely unpredictable. He will destroy random things at random, and he would magic in the cosmos. Tzeentch is actually the representative of the Psykers of 40K. And yeah, there's that. So we have those guys, but this is what they look like. Well, this is art of what they may look like. This is just what we think they may be. Don't mind the glowing thing. That's just random. I think this is, what is this? More lore, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, this is Slaanesh, Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. And these are pretty tame compared to what they really are. But yeah. And to continue on, we also have different Chaos Gods like this one right here, which is Malal or Malice. He is the Chaos God of Malice, I suppose. There's actually a certain type of chapter or Chaos Warband which people speculate to be, I believe, 11th Legion because his number is 11. That's the thing about the Chaos Gods. They have a certain number. Like, let me pull it up. Like, there are certain numbers that resonate with the Chaos Gods. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Dude, is this a meme? This can't be a meme. No, please don't tell me that this is a meme. Oh, fine, I'll just go with it. Korn is 8, Nurgle is 7, Zinj is 9, and Slanesh is... That's gotta be fake, though. That has to be fake, because that's not... No, I'm a little disappointed in that there. But, yeah. That is pretty much the Chaos Gods normally. But the thing about the Chaos Gods, once again, is that they are neither a evil nor a good force, because they represent the things that they are. They all represent something that happens in reality, which actually I don't know if I'm fully quoting. So let me just head on to YouTube real quick to show you something, because there's a channel that I follow that is actually really funny, because I'm gonna have to find the video to I'll probably have to put the link in the comments, or not comments, yeah, probably comments then. But no, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna get copyrighted for this. Okay, but here we have, if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, which a certain episode in there, which here is the creator, if you want to go watch him, his thing is Bruva Alpha Musa, if you want to go see his channel and watch it. But pretty much, I think it's episode 25. I think. No. I don't know if I'm gonna get copyrighted for this. I should probably get out of here before anything happens. When this thing gets posted, I hope I don't get copyrighted. But yeah, they're not copyrighted, but hit with something like that. But yeah. So in one of those episodes, Magnus the Red, the character, states that chaos is neither benevolent nor malevolent. That's the thing about them. But they're represented as extremely violent and evil because of what people have done, because of the things that people in real space have done, which have caused them to be evil, per se. They are the consequences of the people doing terrible things. So that's pretty much the whole premise of the Chaos Gods. So yeah, there's that. Zinj. We're going to talk about Zinj now. Oh, that's not good. No. But Zinj is the Chaos God of change, intrigue, evolution sometimes, I guess, unpredictability, the cosmos. He represents change. Without him, there would be no randomness in life. Imagine waking up and doing the same thing every day for your entire life. That's pretty much the reason why he's there in 40K, because there's unpredictability. There is change. there is stuff that happens that normally wouldn't because of him. And the whole thing with him is, oh, I forgot to talk about Typhus. Okay, real quick, I'm gonna go back on that in a second, but pretty much the representative of Nurgle and the Daemon Prince of Nurgle is Mortarion, the Primarch of the Death Guard, and then we also have Typhus, formerly known as Typhon, first captain of the Death Guard, first captain company commander, which I don't really know which to refer to him as. I'm going to refer to him as Typhon because that's all I've seen him in books. But Typhon kind of forced Mortarion to become a Daemon Prince because he actually cares about his Astartes, which, you know, it's actually a little bit funny because the Primarch you would expect not to care about his legion actually really did care. He sacrificed his own freedom to be able to save his legion because he was that worried about them. He didn't want to lose them. But yeah, he also ran Typhon off after that because, you know, he was really angry with him. I mean, I would too if, you know, you caused a bunch of my legion to, you know, get killed by disease, and then I'd have to force myself to join Nurgle, out of all things. But yeah, there's that. Back to Tzeentch. We have, so for one, Tzeentch and Khorne don't mix at all. Tzeentch is deceptive. He is deceitful. Khorne is not. Khorne will do just stuff as it is. He will be upfront with you. Khorne also hates magic. That's why they will do anything to attack each other. Now, a little bit of lore here. The four Chaos Gods are in something called the Great Game, which is something that they try to keep up as much as possible, because without followers, they will die. They will die out, because there is no one to follow them, no one else to join them. And Tzeentch almost won the Great Game, but he actually stopped himself from winning because they'd all die. They need constant combat and destruction and stuff to enforce their representative traits, otherwise they're going to die. That's the thing about the Chaos Gods, is that they need new followers coming in constantly, otherwise they are dead. Which, yeah. The representative of Tzeentch is Azhek Ahriman, which is, I don't actually know his rank, but he was one of the more he was really good with Magnus the Red, which is the Daemon Prince of Tzeentch. So when he became a Daemon Prince, he lost a bunch of his soul, which he collected all of it back, except for his noble shard, his emotions, his good side, which evidently ended up on the side of, the Grey Knights used it for their Grandmaster, so that didn't exactly go well for him. Or it's still in the vaults, I don't know. Maybe it's still in the Imperial vaults, but yeah. Which, another thing, Azhek Ahriman had actually casted something called a rubric, which is Forticate's form of a spell, and every single Marine who wasn't as psychically active Like, okay, the Thousand Sons, which is the legion that they were both in, were extremely psychically active. That caused Zeus to have a greater connection to them, which allowed him to cast something called the Flesh Change, which pretty much turned them into war enemies. And Magnus had sacrificed an eye to stop it. But it kind of continued, so to try to stop it, Azagarimon had casted a rubric called the Rubric of Arion, which pretty much trapped every single Marine who was not a powerful psyker in their armor, turned them to dust. Which, for those who have played Space Marine 2, which I have not, but I have seen reviews on it, they will kind of, when you kill a normal Thousand Sons Marine, their sort of blood, I can say, comes out as like a rainbowy mist of dust. That is what they are. That is what they are now. Their souls are trapped. They will follow orders only. That's it. But the sorcerers of the Legion will still have blood because they are not dusted. They are not rubric marines, as they're called. So there's that. And finally, we have Slanesh. I hate this one. I wanted to avoid talking about this, but honestly, no. I can't. I have to go through this for you guys. Slanesh is pretty much the... Now, Slanesh represents... I'm going to say herself because that's how it's normally represented. She represents herself as normally both genders, a man and a woman. So, yeah. She represents excess, pleasure, pain, the arts, all that. And normally, people do the thing, oh, hey, it's the, I don't really curse or anything like that, but, that. And pretty much that's what people normally say about it, but it is pleasure and pain mixed. It is all about indulgence. That's the reason why she was actually created, because the Eldar had become I'm just gonna say party too hard, because they were getting really into it. So that ended up with the Eye of Terror being created and Slanesh being born. The Eye of Terror is a result of Slanesh being born, which is a terror in reality which causes a portion of the warp to go into real space. That's the only place that humans can actually go without there being warp energy everywhere. I need to take a breather for a second. Okay, I think I'm ready. Now, the representatives of Slanesh are Lucius the Eternal, which this guy's really bad. First off, he has a massive ego. He actually dies a lot because Slanesh had to keep reviving him to the point where she just gave him the ability to whoever kills him and takes even a sliver, just a teeny bit, like this much of pride in killing him, he will come back as you. Your face, your undying face, will be etched into his body. And he will slowly but surely take over your body and become Lucius the Eternal. And the thing is, funny thing, he actually got killed by a landmine once, and the creator of the landmine felt so much pride in creating those things that he got turned into Lucius, because okay, I don't know if this is canon or not, but I have a feeling it is because he dies so much. But yeah, he became Lucius because he felt pride in his creation. But then the moment that he actually got gifted that power by Slanesh was when I believe Imperial Fist. Let me look that up. Real quick, let me look this up. Okay. Lord Commander Sirius. Oh, my bad. That was wrong. But yeah, Lucius is also known as the Soul Thief because yeah, he steals the souls of those who kill him. Now on to the actual Primarch who got turned into a demon prince. This is actually a really tragic story because it is Fulgrim. Fulgrim, the leader of the Third Legion, Legiones Astartes. And it is so sad on how he actually became a demon prince because he killed his best friend and brother, Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands. He was the Primarch. They're both Primarchs, if you didn't already know, which, yeah, my bad. If it sounds like I'm calling you guys stupid, but I'm not. But pretty much, he killed Ferrus Manus and cut off his head. And he was so overwhelmed by grief that the blade that he had, called the Lair Blade, which had a demon of Slanesh imprisoned inside it, he allowed it to take over because he was done. He couldn't take any more of it. Now, a little bit of lore for Ferrus and Fulgrim. Ferrus never actually had that much lore to him because he died so early on in the heresy. But they both actually forged weapons for each other. And Ferrus had created a blade for Fulgrim, and Fulgrim made a hammer for Ferrus. And they both had a competition over it, and both believed that the other had the greater weapon. So they became best friends. They became close, and I mean close. Like a sandwich. And when Fulgrim killed Ferrus, he was so overwhelmed by grief that he let the demon take over. He thought the demon was going to kill him, but instead just took over his body. And it's just tragic because, I mean, Fulgrim was known to be one of the most noble of the Primarchs. He was kind. Like, before everything, he was actually one of the more kind Primarchs. And he became a Daemon Prince of Slanesh. And during the Siege of Terra, most of the Emperor's children left, and Fulgrim kind of just went to his pleasure planet. Yeah, there are pleasure planets, which I don't like. I really do not like. I don't like that Slanesh just has those things in the back pocket. That is weird. Oh, that's better. That's better. Okay. But, yeah. I don't like it. But that's pretty much the Chaos Gods in their entirety. Oh, I forgot to do the World Eaters for Khorne. Okay, so quick, going back to Khorne. The representatives of Khorne are the World Eaters. Their seventh captain, I think, seventh captain, which was the equerry of the World Eaters, or in other words, Angron, was Karn, which is now called Karn the Betrayer, because like Lucius, well, not like Lucius, Karn was on the traitor's side, but Lucius had betrayed them on the Battle of Isstvan III. Karn was actually known to be a little bit noble. Like, it's tragic that a lot of the people that turned traitor are actually really noble. Now, Karn was pretty much the only one who survived Angron's destruction of most of the upper ranks because, yeah, Angron went on a rampage the moment that he got put with the Imperium, which Karn survived it. And Angron, also known as the Lord of the Red Sands, he was forcibly turned into the Daemon Prince of Khorne, which, pulling it up here now, let me this is what he looks like nowadays. This is what he is. A Daemon Prince of Khorne, which he has wings up there, he has hooves, pretty much like a Minotaur, but he also has that tail, which normally it's actually represented as a scorpion tail, I think. Maybe not, maybe not. This is probably the most accurate representation of him here. But yeah, that's Angron. So that is pretty much going over a little bit of the lore with the Gods of Chaos, which, wow, that took me an hour to go